Why, hello there, archaeologists, indie fans. This video is more or less just my own headcanon to the eventual franchises that I believe take place in the same universe. And this is how the timeline would go. And those are the Indiana Jones franchise, National Treasure franchise, and the Mummy franchise. This will go over the timeline / way how you should probably watch these movies with my own theory. And if you say, you don't have any evidence for my theory, it's a headcanon, I like to think. And you can't convince me otherwise. So yeah. About 5 billion years ago, before the events of any of these movies, aliens crash-landed in South America, where Crystal Skull would go missing of one of the aliens. And because I haven't watched Crystal Skull in 500 years, I can't remember anything from it. Then after those events, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson tries to take over the world and failed. But then he makes a deal with God Anubis and then fails again. And also, I haven't watched any of the events of the Scorpion King movies happening before those, but I have never watched any of the Scorpion King movies. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that out. Then after Then a high priest of Imhotep and his shenanigans with the Pharaoh's wife get himself killed. But then he gets and then after those events he's been put on a course for pain, and he will have his revenge take over as tribute. He would take over the world if he would ever return as the beast, and if so, he must be stopped. As Emo was also during that time, the Israelites would, after those events, the Israelites would break free of Egyptian control and build the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant would be used by priests until Egypt would attack the Israelites, and the Ark would go missing for thousands of years until it would be put in Tanis. And it would not be found again until the events of Wars. Then meanwhile, back in China, Chinese, I've got the name of, because I haven't watched the third Mummy movie in about probably 5 billion years, tries and takes over the world as any other, and fails for he does not have good enough insurance against magic, and then is thrown into a dark-hearted soldier, and then with his army would be cursed with that fate. But until somebody shall find them, and they shall take over the world. But for now, they are cursed with their fate. And I have not seen Mummy 3 for quite some time, so I just going off of recollections. So, and one day his tomb will be found with his army, and then when that day shall come, a great many bad things will happen. Bum 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 bum. Then the warriors of the Magi will form as a way to protect the secret of Imhotep, to make sure he shall never rise again. For most of the Middle East and all 9 tribes, or 5 or 10, I forgot how many they mentioned Mummy 2. I need to rewatch those movies. But as they would protect it, and would go to war against anyone who's there to uncover it. Whilst during the time of Christ, he figured out that one of the disciples betrayed him, and his time on earth is about to be fulfilled for his own sacrifice. But he gave the disciples an honorary cup, the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail would make sure it would be protective of Joseph from Arimathea. And then here's the big one. Then during the time of Crusade times, two big things happened. The Temple Knights of Force, maybe. Force. Temple finds treasure. And they realize how dangerous this could be in just one man, even just for a king. So they agreed to protect it, no matter what. And they later formed the Freemasons to protect the treasure, no matter the cost, so it doesn't fall in the wrong hands. Then the Brotherhood of the Crucifixion Knights are formed. Well, they found the Grail and they will protect it as they build a temple to make sure that it will never, make sure the Grail would never fall into the wrong hands. Well, so then, three brothers would join that would find the Grail and would give it to them. As one of them would go back and guard the Grail for the rest of eternity, or until his time has come. Then the 7 cities of gold would go missing towards time and would be underground, only to be found centuries later. As they would become one of the greatest myths of history. The 7 cities of gold. As Europeans after discovering America would try and find them, but no use. And they would never be found until the 2000s under Benjamin Gates. Well, it's due to pressure of going away from the British monarchy, the American Revolution happens, and the founding of the United States. During that time, the Temple of Treasure would go to the Freemasons that would have George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. Most of the founding fathers were a part of it, and they agreed if the British had the treasure, it would not be good. So they made sure to keep it a secret, no matter what. And they would hide it in Philadelphia, where the treasure would go on, never be found until the 2000s. Well, one Gates family would hold the story of the treasure as the last signing man of the Declaration would die, and would keep it from father to son. Then the American Civil War happens in the 1860s. A brutal 4 years of the biggest war in American history. A war that was hopeful. But a secret group of Confederate extremists would try and find at least one of the 7 cities of gold. And as the war but their efforts during the war was failure. The war ended in a Union victory. Meanwhile, during the planned assassination by John Wilkes Booth to assassinate Abraham Lincoln, the plan to find the treasure, Wilkes told a man by Thomas Gates, and he figured out the clues, but he made sure that to make sure the Confederates wouldn't get it, he burned the map, and he died with the knowledge he had in to make sure that they would never find it. Well, so after the assassination, Booth would become the most wanted man in America. As for, well, killing the President of the United States of America. Whilst meanwhile, when he was shot, whilst the City of Gold wouldn't be found and would still be undiscovered for hundreds of years. Then, sometime in the late 1880s, Wyckoff Connell was born. The parents we don't know of. Being that I presume he's about a decade older than Indy, he would be born in 1889. Whilst John Finn would be born. Whilst Jonathan, the future brother-in-law to Wyckoff Connell, would be born sometime in 1883. 1884, making him 5 years older than Evie. 1894, making him 5 years older than Evie. Whilst Evie would be born probably a few months in 1899, probably only a few months before Dr. Henry Jones Jr. would be born, also known as Indiana Jones. He would be born in 1899, July 2nd. And by his young youth, he would already be somewhat of an owner eventual. But this is where we will end it now, of part 1.